So just a little bit of history. Both of my parents are in their declining years, and my sister and I are doing our best to try to take care of them as they, progress through that process. Um, my mother has Alzheimer's, and my father has a frontal lobe dementia as well as some other, physical ailments. But my my father especially, which is probably where I get my stubborn streak from, is that he is, you know, constantly stubborn and generally non-compliant with requests from his doctors and taking his medication and things like that. So the Monday after Thanksgiving, he had a near-death a fall that resulted in, nearly ending his life. No one is quite sure how it happened because no one saw it, and we are not clear about how long he was, you know, sitting on the ground before he was found. Because he was there with my mother, and my mother could only say that she got worried after a while, but didn't know how long. She waited until going to try to find him, and my mother no longer remembers how to work a phone. So she ran across the street, got the neighbors, just all kinds of delays before he got some help. Long story short is a few days in intensive care. He's getting better. The swelling's down. He's now yesterday or day before yesterday, he was transferred to a skilled nursing facility where he's undergoing rehab and trying to relearn, his motor skills because he lost his ability for a while temporarily to walk or use his any parts of his body. So that's coming back. Things are getting better. The domino effect is that he's the primary caregiver for my mother, and which is something he's not going to be able to do anymore. So we've had now had to go to some outside care, home care people, and have them coming in 24 hours to make sure that care is being given. That starts tonight, and uh, my mother does not take well to strangers, so I will be there when that starts, and also when the next shift comes on, so that she understands that someone is um, there to take care of her. They're not just strangers in her house. Um, the other piece of that is my parents over the years have suddenly decided to be hoarders, and the house I grew up in is now filled with just so much stuff that I will be spending the rest of today moving stuff out of the way so that the caregiver can get to her in her bedroom because there are lots of obstacles that have appeared over the years. So this is an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to take a look at, my own life and death, because this is something that is inescapable for all of us, which, and going back to the Heart Sutra makes some really bold um, claims. I mean, it basically says this is the great mantra, the vivid mantra, the best mantra, the unsurpassable mantra. It completely clears all pain. This is the truth, not a lie. So I never believe anybody when they tell me that they're telling the truth. I look for proof to make sure that, and in my own experience, before I'm going to believe anything. And basically, I keep finding it as, parts of this sutra gets tested in my own life. So the line that has really been echoing in my mind as I'm going through this process is the line that says, "No old age and death, and no end to old age and death." So, which is kind of it's a weird statement in and of itself. We chant this, and do we ever see how this applies in our own life? And so I did a little bit of research, and all of the commentaries on this particular passage in the Heart Sutra, uh, point back to the 12-fold chain of events that's found in the Hinayana text, and the difference between the way the Hinayana holds it and the Mahayana holds it are a little bit different, but none of that intellectual stuff I found very helpful. But how this is really unfolding in my own life is really more to the point. for me, as individually. Not that all the history isn't interesting, because it is. Um, but ultimately, the 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 words of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, live within each of us. And I love that line from the Gate of Sweet Nectar, where it's, I am the Buddhas and they are me, and we say that several times just to remind that. I think that that is absolutely true. Um, Buddhism doesn't live in a bunch of dusty books and old dead guys. It lives in each of us, in you and me, and all the Buddhas. And the Buddha said clearly, all beings have the wisdom of the Tathagata, and he left nothing out of that statement. It's all inclusive, which I think is very true. So, what is this? No old age and death, and no end to old age and death. So, in my simple little mind, I kind of reduced it down to um, basic differences between Newtonian physics and quantum physics, and all of these so-called sciences are constantly being challenged and changed. And now with the James Webb Telescope, even the current laws of physics that we thought we do are being challenged. So nothing to get attached to with all of these, but certainly we go back to the laws of thermodynamics. Matter and energy are neither created nor destroyed. They only change form. So in that sense, we're immortal, in some kind of absolute way of looking at that. Uh, we don't die. Is what it is that makes up what we are, becomes something else, and it continues. And just as it has continued from you know from time in memorial, from the eternity in the past, it will continue forward that way as well. So in that sense, yeah, no old age and death. It's the current delusion that we believe happens, and are kind of content to look at it and accept. But that is what happens in the relative sense. What will change is our bodies. We will not be in this body forever, and even as we get older, our bodies change, and that sort of constant transformation is going on in every minute of every day. Even as we breathe in and breathe out, those are those momentary life and death. Breathing in life and breathing out life. And those moments of change are going on, um, every minute, every second, all the time. And Zazen gives us um, the ability to actually experience that intimately, which is why. And I don't know if I've probably announced this before. Very biased. Love Zazen. This is my practice. Some people, it's not for everybody. If this is not the practice of choice, there are many other practices I'm sure that can work equally as well. But I am particularly partial to doing Zazen on a daily basis. It does give me this pause to be able to take a really close look. And so this event with my father and what's going on with my mother has been a way of entering practice, for me. So, in the relative sense, yeah, we get old and we die. There's no there's no escaping that. And that's the part that some people just have a lot of difficulty dealing with. We spend billions and billions of dollars to look younger, to not age, to look like wearing the latest of whatever, and we're on all kinds of plastic surgery and everything to kind of defy the laws of of physics, and maintain some um, constant pursuit of youth and happiness. But this ignoring doesn't work. It catches up with us eventually. And I think that on some level we all know this. But on other levels, we do our best to not deal with it directly. Therein lies the suffering, both for us individually and for everyone around you. What this kind of mess, because life is messy, and death is messy. There's nothing about this that is at all cut and dry and you know neatly romanticized as it is in a lot of movies. Um, we get to deal with this mess and this muck, if you will. Um, but our practice is really about finding the joy within life as it is, within the suffering that we are experiencing. And there's a for me, there's a clear distinction between joy and happiness. When I look at the word happiness, I think Disneyland. It's such an artificial atmosphere that is maintained. It's been years since I've been. I'm old enough to remember e-tickets. Anybody remember those things? Um, and those you they were for the best rides in the Matterhorn and whatever the really good rides were. And so everybody always wanted to use their e-tickets. You spend hours waiting in line for 10 minutes of being, jostled around by whatever roller coaster you get on as a result. And this one I was always just clean and neat and nothing out of place. You know, no dead plants, nothing, at all that looks strange or would remind you of what the world is really like. I have to imagine that this is what the atmosphere in which the Buddha was Shakyamuni was raised in, because his parents did not want him to become this enlightened teacher, so they did everything they could to hide anything that spoke to any sort of aging or decay. I cannot imagine how much staff they had to actually maintain that on a daily basis. That would just be just really a lot of work. But that was not satisfying for him, so he jumped the wall of the compound and ventured outside and into the muck, into the messiness of life, and you know saw what really happened with people, and thus his spiritual journey begins, and here we are as a result of that journey. The One of the other things we chant, it's I can't even remember which chant it's from, but it's the one about the lotus. May we exist in muddy water with purity like the lotus. The first time I heard that, I completely misinterpreted it, because it was like, oh, I'm supposed to be this lotus that purifies water. I was like, no, got that one wrong. And but no, the lotus does not exist without the mud, and its roots, its nourishment, its life, its joy, the beauty that it gives to the world is um, rooted in the mud. And that's what a wonderful way to look at our own lives. That it's in this mess, it's in this muck, uh, where we find um, spiritual nourishment, spiritual joy. Uh, Hard to feel it sometimes, when you're in the middle of it. And certainly, I've been through various stages of, the 5 stages of grief with regarding to watching my parents through this. Because first of all, just really angry at my father, because we knew that this was a possibility. He was a general contractor for most of his career, and loves building things, and um, especially and he started having these dizzy spells a few years ago, for which he has medication and that he doesn't take. And so we knew that at some point he's going to fall off something, and there will be these horrible results as a fact. So my sister did supply him with one of those alert things that actually detects if you fall. Of course, he refused to wear it, so that didn't was not at all helpful for him. So we are left with, the result of this, and this is the mess that we have to deal with. it's been um, especially difficult for more so for my sister. I think she's a little bit more involved with this and also much more emotional about this than I am. My parents and I had a rather severe falling out when I rejected their religion, and I'm sure that what they basically consider that I'm going to go to hell anyway. So I've had to be a little bit separate from them more so than my sister. So she's a little bit more involved than I am. However, we're both there trying to get through this together. But the inevitability, the lessons that I'm learning from this, because now I'm seeing directly what happens. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's the direct experience and the direct effect of being in denial of the fact that we're going to get old and die. That there is this kind of mess that's that's left that someone has to get involved with and get cleaned up. Whether it's family or whether it ends up being the state or, whomever it is that's left with this, the houses and what's in the houses, and then the amount of hoarding that my parents have done is going to take a lot of time and a lot of work to try to get rid of, and they're very attached to it. My more so my sister. My sister has tried to actually go into the house and actually take stuff out, and that was met with, you know, not well by both my parents. I basically had to talk her off the ledge. I thought, there'll be plenty of time later. Don't upset them now. Um, they're happy in their mess, and when they're gone, then we inherit the mess, and we'll take care of it then. So, that helped her relax a little bit about that. But, as the immediate mess is now they need 24-hour care, and the caregivers need to be able to maneuver around the house. My father, once he's discharged, will probably be in a wheelchair or have a walker and cane. And all of this mess that they have in the way is going to have to be cleared out, because it will be, just being able to get to vital things like the bathroom is difficult in the way things stand. So that's my job this afternoon, is making sure there's clear paths to these vital areas, and that the caregivers who are there have direct access and full access to be able to help with whatever eventuality comes up. So the and it's caused me to take a look at my own life. Okay, what if I were to fall over and die today? Um, I'm not trying to be, morose about that, because that's just a fact. There's no emotion for me about that. It's just a possibility. Hopefully not, but someday it will happen. What have I taken care of? What is left? Or will this fall to someone else to have to take care of? So, this taking stock, this taking inventory of my life and the muck that my life is, um, has been part of the work, and that has been, and I say inspired. I think it is inspiring to actually you know look at this, to see what's here, what needs to be done, how, and take the steps that need to be done. So I've actually started a book called Wayu's Book of the Dead that will list out all those things that I need to take care of, and so that they're clear, and they have everything has a hopefully a good destination and a good end, at the end of my life. And this is not something I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying this is just how I'm dealing with it at this point. But the result of this, I mean, the result of actually sitting with this and actually looking at it, and and just noticing it, and in my zazen practice, did exactly what the sutra said it would do. It stopped being painful. I was like, and it was just a fact. It was a truth. It was a truth that was there before me, and there was just the just to take care of it. It's here, right now, just take care of it. Just take the next step. Make the decisions that are necessary to make sure that all concerned are cared for. Um, so yeah, and it's been very in my face. So there's the vivid part of the mantra, and this for me, and because of my partiality for this practice, this has been the best mantra for me to use to take this journey, this aspect of the journey of this aspect of my life. So um, I'm here to do what the mantra says. Set forth the Prajnaparamita, set forth this mantra and say, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha, Prajnaheart Sutra. I think that they didn't lie. It was the truth and not a lie. So glad that I'm not believing in a lie. Glad that I was able to, prove or, get this through the test of the crucible of my life right now and have it work as well as it did. There's more. There'll always be more to come. We'll see, where next this journey takes me, and my family. They're all dealing with it in their own their own ways. Some of which is helpful, and some of which is not. Yet another opportunity to, try and be in the muck and deal with it as it shows up. So that's my sutra for today, and the lessons learned, lessons learning, and proving as I move through this. But it's also nothing special because this has been going on since the beginning of time. Things are born, they come into existence, they exist for a while, then they decay and they die. Even long before whatever got human beings to the state that they are. Stars were being born, and stars are, reach the end of their several billion year life, and they flame out in some sense. They too die and become something else, a black hole or whatever it is they become. Um, and so there's from the you know the the astronomical point of view down to the tiniest you know particle of an atom, this same process is happening all the time, and we are that process. We are not separate from it. And for me, this is a joyful reminder of our life, the tenuousness of it, um, and because I don't know, bottom line is there's no way of knowing, how all this is going to turn out, and it's in that not knowing that life becomes very intimate, very immediate, and so you just have this, you just have what's right here in front of you right now. So joyfully, um, take care of it, and I believe that you know there's no way out of karma. So whatever you're putting out, it reverberates out in all directions, in all different ways, and through space and time. Backward in time, forward in time. I think there's nothing left out of this karmic life, and recognize that, and be accountable for that, because we really can't control um, anything, much of anything these days. That's control is certainly a delusion I wish were true, because I like being in control. But it's usually things prove to me over and over again that I'm not in control, and I just have to deal with reality as it shows up in whatever way it shows up. And me trying to make it into what it is I like is really just a waste of time. But that's been my experience. Uh, what say you? How have you experienced this no old age and death, and this no end to old age and death?